But anyway, I'm one of the only actors who's been on Enterprise B, C, D, and now E. Plus, I was on Voyager and DS9. So I don't know, I mean, Bill Blair, who's here with us, and a friend of mine too, he's got the world record for a number of aliens that he's played. But I don't think there's any other Star Trek character that's been on all those ships, you know? I think I was playing my own grandfather when I was on Enterprise B, because it's the one that gets caught in the Nexus. And that's where I got to meet William Shatner for the first time. And William Shatner owns a farm in Kentucky. And my father was a John Deere dealer in Shelbyville, Kentucky for 50 years. And he opened his store on the day I was born, which is March the 3rd. Tomorrow will be my birthday, and my show tomorrow is going to be a birthday party. And I'm going to talk about where I am now and what I'm doing now, which is really exciting too, to me. And so if you come to my party tomorrow, I'd appreciate it too. Anyway, so one night we're filming this scene where it's a skyscraper downtown LA, and they have this company logo of the Japanese company that's supposed to be in the movie actually attached to the skyscraper down. I mean, it's incredible what they did. And then they had above that, they had all this rigging to make it rain on this whole skyscraper. It's not raining in LA that night, but it rained for that set, you know. So I was there, and I was in a suit that wardrobe had given me to put on for this scene. And the director, Philip Kaufman, he comes over and says, "You're supposed to be in a tux because we see you at the party that comes right after this in the movie. You have to be in a tuxedo. Go tell wardrobe that you want to be in a tuxedo." So, okay. Well, they didn't have it there. It was on the other set where that scene was going to be filmed. It took like 20 minutes for them to go to the other set, get my tux, bring it in there. So they finally get my tux. They're holding up production on this night where they're set up for rain and everything. You know, they've got to get it all filmed in that one night before the light, you know. I've been on movies a lot of time, like Tequila Sunrise too, where the director's going, we're getting light, we must film now. And then conversely, we're losing the light when it's getting sunset. And those lighting guys are amazing though. They can light day for night, night for day, you know. So anyway, we're getting ready to film the scene, and the tux thing happens, and so here comes Philip Kaufman with his tux laying across his arm, and he walks up to me and he goes, "We don't have any more time. Would you mind just going behind that statue right there and changing your clothes?" I said, "Yeah, no problem, Mr. Kaufman, I'm fine." So I'm over there, and who's over there standing in the shadows waiting for us to film? The Sean Connery. And I kind of see him out of the corner of my eye, but I don't see him. And then I take off my clothes, and a couple of the girls that were in the crowd scene were going, woo, whistling at me and stuff. I turn around, and Sean Connery's right there, and he goes, "You're going to remember this night for the rest of your life." And I sure did when he said that. Sean was so nice. And Wesley Snipes, too, who had finished New Jack City just before that. That was the only character I had ever seen him in. And so at first I was scared of him, but he turns out, a lot of the stars, when I used to hang out with Dennis Hopper all the time, I was like in his entourage for years. And people would think that he was really like Frank Booth or these horrible characters he played. And he's not like that at all. He's just a genius. I'm so sad that Dennis left us. He was my acting teacher, my mentor, and a distant cousin of mine, actually. But he only liked me because I was there in Hollywood. I got my Screen Actors card on my own. I never contacted him. I'd met him once when I was a little kid after Easy Rider, but I didn't know him at all, and I didn't bother him. My aunt came out to visit him, and she wanted to stay at my house. So we did. So I drove her around Hollywood, and we're going to meet Dennis Hopper one day. And we meet Dennis, and he said, "Oh, you're my cousin and everything." And he took a liking to me right off the bat. He said, "Yo, you're handsome, and have you ever done any acting before?" I told him, yeah. And he said, and I said, "In fact, I've already got my Screen Actors Guild card." And when I said that, he was like, you don't know how many people have come from my past and asked me to put it in my Hollywood. And here you are, you've been out here and you did it on your own. He really respected that. And that's why we became such close friends. And I've got a lot of Dennis Hopper stories. Well, the Roadhouse story that I didn't finish, I just remembered. On that movie, when they took my part away from me, I went up to the stunt coordinator and said, "I know what you're doing. You're trying to give your guy a SAG guard with my line." And he got immediately mad and wanted to fight right there. And we actually tussled a little bit, This is a stunt coordinator. He was a short guy, but he was wide. And Patrick Swayze saw what was happening. He comes out and makes a that, and he said to me, he goes, "You in my trailer right now." And then he turned to the stunt coordinator and said, "You don't bother the actors like that." So I went into Patrick Swayze's trailer, and this was the start of me spending the whole week with Patrick in his trailer. So I had, carte blanche in Patrick's trailer. I just go in and sit there and wait for him to get done, and we talk. I remember the first day I was with Patrick, he said, "Oh, I've got this new album from my friend. It's not released yet, but he sent me a test print of it." And it was Michael Jackson's Bad album. And we listened to A Man in the Mirror like 20 times in a row. Oh, wow, this is an awesome song. But Patrick and Michael were close friends. But that's the end of that Roadhouse story. I'm living in Michigan now, in Detroit, and one of Michigan's biggest favorite sons is Jeff Daniels. And Jeff Daniels was in one of his very early movies in his career was called Checking Out. And I'm in a scene in Checking Out with Jeff Daniels. And we're at a barbecue party and a nighttime party, and this guy's telling jokes and we're laughing and everything. Years later, I see Jeff Daniels there, and I go up to him and I say, I worked with you on a movie. And he said, "Oh yeah, what was that?" I said, "Checking Out." He goes, "Oh, I can't believe that." He goes, "Did you get to meet David Byrne?" And I said, "Oh yeah, because the costumer's husband was David Byrne of the Talking Heads. And yeah, we got to hang out with David Byrne. He sang for us and everything on the set. That was a fun movie. I've done a lot of TV shows too. I've been on Wings, Cheers. I was the UPS man on Wings. I was one of the bar patrons a lot of times on Cheers. Cheers was so much fun because it was like doing a play. It was filmed in front of a live audience, and so you did a rehearsal, and you came in another day for a dress rehearsal, and then the day of the filming you had a dress rehearsal in the morning, then they release you, you get out of your wardrobe, and we would go see a taping of the Arsenio Hall or something else on the lot, and then come back in that evening and do the show in front of a live audience. That's why Cheers is so great. The soundtrack of Cheers, it's real laughter. It's not canned like some of these shows you hear. let's see, what's some other movies? I've got so many.
Waterworld.
Huh?
Waterworld.
Oh, Waterworld, yeah, and talk about another Dennis Hopper movie. And that's science fiction for sure. Well, at Waterworld, Dennis Hopper asked me, do you want to come to Hawaii and be in this movie with me in Hawaii? And I was already standing in for Brent Spiner on Star Trek, and they were bringing my character along at that time, Ensign Russell, and I didn't want to give that up. Plus, I was married, my wife was pregnant at the time, and the baby would have come while I would be in Hawaii. So I told Dennis, you know, I don't think I will. Well, it turns out, you know, that was at the time the most expensive movie ever made, Waterworld. But I found out later through Dennis Hopper there was a lot of politics involved in that, because Universal was like charging toilet paper for the theme park to the set at Waterworld in Hawaii, you know. Plus they also had this whole, the island that was in the movie where they tried to lower him in the cage. The original one sunk into the ocean after a storm. They had to rebuild that, so that's a lot of money. Anyway, they decided to change the ending of the movie, but they didn't want to go back to Hawaii. So they built a set of the Exxon Valdez in Hollywood, and they were going to refilm the ending in 3 weeks. Now, to make it look like this set was out on the ocean, they had these helicopters, you know those double helicopters, they have the 2 rotors, like military ones? There's 3 of those flying around, and they had these huge blue banners hanging from them to make a green screen so they could put the ocean around. So when you see the Exxon Valdez, it's not even on the ocean. It looks like it is, but it's not. Anyway, they had 3,000 extras on that shoot for Waterworld, and when I heard that they were going to refilm the ending, I went down to casting and I said, "Put me on Waterworld. Put me on Waterworld." Oh yeah, well, you know, I finally talked them into it. They put me on Waterworld. Waterworld was real interesting for the background because it was like being in a real camp kind of atmosphere. It was fun. And we were in these clothes that were like shredded, and so, you know, you could see parts of yourself being exposed. But to give us that oil look of living on the Valdez all the time, they sent us through these, looked like booths that were for painting a car, and they had those car spraying type things filled with makeup. And so the first booth, they would hit you with a base coat, and the second one was like drippy, oily looking stuff, and then the third one was like to make it all set. And so and you could see the line of girls over here, and the line of guys were over here and going through, but you could see they had windows in the booth, so you could see everybody getting painted. And we were all in our underwear, you know. It was really kind of bizarre every morning to like, hi, get spray painted and everything, and get ready for that movie. So anyway, I'm out there in the crowd of 3,000 extras. Well, anyway, Dennis said I couldn't. I went up to the lunch table one time for lunch, and this was like my first day on the movie at Waterworld. I hadn't told Dennis that I'd gotten onto the movie. And I'm made up, my hair's all like out this, I got the oil and everything on me. I go up to Dennis at the lunch craft table, and I didn't know that in the movie they call everybody cousins, because they've been living on the ship for so long, they're like generational on the ship. And everybody's a cousin, right? And Dennis was actually my cousin. I mean, Dennis Hopper's mother and my father were cousins. So I'm not that closely to him, but I'm a little bit related. And so I went up to him and I said, "Hey cousin." I didn't know that they call each other cousins. He thought I was some smart ass extra calling him cousin from the movie. He turned, he was like fire in his eyes. He He stared in my eyes, he recognized me. Get in the town car right now. So I got in his Lincoln town car. We drove over to his trailer on the other side of the set. And I spent the next 2 weeks sitting in Dennis Hopper's trailer watching the OJ trial for him because he was so into it. And when he would go on the set, I would watch a trial, and when he'd come back, what happened, you know, like that. So I spent most of the 2 weeks in a trailer with Dennis. Well, he had this interview. He was going to do a Playboy interview. He said, I want you to sit in here with me and witness this interview for Playboy. I said, yeah, I'd be glad to. And the interview didn't go good at all. They got mad at each other, and the interview broke up. So Dennis was mad after this, and he was talking to me, and he was mad, and he said, and he goes, well, you've been here working and getting paid on this movie, and you're not even in it. You know, you've been here in this trailer all the time. I said, well, that's what you want. I said, you don't think I can get seen in this movie? And he said, no, I don't. I said, okay. I left the trailer. I go over to the production assistant who had been letting me into Dennis's trailer all the time. So he knew I knew Dennis. And I said, is there any way I can help you in this movie? You know, you need anything? He goes, yeah. We've got one guy who's wearing a microphone in the crowd. He's going to come up to a certain point, I'll show you where it is, and stop. And if you could be right behind him and stop the crowd from crushing him so he can stay on his mark to say this one line. Yeah. And I said, oh yeah, I can do that, sure. So I knew I was going to be close to a guy that said the line. And he said a line that the crowd starts chanting when he says it the first time. So we get ready to film a scene, get him in there, and I stop the crowd, and then he says his line, and then I said it first before the crowd started chanting it. And so it's like, you know, I am Spartacus. I got the second I am Spartacus in Waterworld. And you see half of my head really good. I mean, it cuts off my hair a little bit, but you see me really good. And I said, at the premiere, I said, I waited for that moment, and I punched Dennis, and I go, I made it in the movie. And he's like, yeah, you did. So, yeah, thank you for reminding me of Waterworld. Yeah, that was a heck of a movie to be a small part of, too. They still have the Waterworld exhibit at Universal Studios in Hollywood. You can still go through the water. It's a fantastic little show, too, they put on there. Well, what time is it? Anybody got questions?
Are you still active as an actor?
Oh yeah, I've got my Screen Actors card right here. I'll show it to you. I'm very proud of that.
I'm more interested in knowing who your agent is.
Huh?
I'm more interested in knowing who your agent is.
My agent? Well, most of my agents are dead now. You know, because I was in Hollywood for 30 years. Jack Scagnetti was my big agent at one time. He's a well-known Hollywood agent. And, but once you get established a little bit, you can get, you know, agencies that take you a lot more seriously. I remember I was working in New York, and they had me go over and drop off some stuff at the William Morris agency. And so I told the lady at the front desk, I have to put this right in her hands personally. She needs to sign for this, the head of William Morris agency. And I get in her office and I slip her my resume in an 8x10. She looks over it and she goes, we only use established actors.